Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia, and this is Taking Back Friday, the live episode that we're doing every month. And really excited to see you guys all here. I can see you guys in the chat here. I am very close to my camera and things are like not in focus. I'm trying to see everything all at the same time. Okay, fantastic. It is September. It is wonderful to be back and to see you guys all again. I know we did this back in August. I was away for the majority of August, so it has been, yeah, I've been doing a lot of knitting, which is fantastic. It's great. Wonderful to see you guys. Now, today we actually have a ton of stuff to talk about, and so I'm going to share a lot of things, including what is in this box as well. We're going to talk about what's in this box. We're going to talk about yarn. We're going to talk about shawls. We're going to talk about lots and lots of things. But the very first thing that I did want to mention is today is September the 8th. It's actually one day away from our 18th anniversary for SweetGeorgia. I started SweetGeorgia, the little yarn company, on September 9th, 2005. And so I cannot believe that it's already been 18 years. I tell myself this all the time. I tell people all the time that I feel like we're just starting out. We're just getting started. And after 18 years, I don't know how it can feel like we're still just getting started all the time. So in any case, yes, tomorrow's anniversary, and I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the amazing people that are working on the team. You guys, behind the scenes, there are a lot of amazing, wonderful, super talented, kind, generous, wonderful people who are working every day to make these yarns, to make these colors, to dye the yarns, to package things, to ship things, to make the printouts, just every single thing that happens. I am just super thankful for this team. And yeah. 18 years. It's pretty crazy. I am also super thankful that you are here, that you guys are using the yarn, that you guys are knitting the yarn, you guys are sharing what you're making on Instagram, you're sharing what you're making with us, and that you guys just are part of this amazing community. I have seen since I have been on vacation, I've been checking in on the Discord that we have for SweetGeorgia. Our community is doing a ton of chatting on Discord, and you can just see it is so vibrant in there. There's so much conversation. There's so many people helping each other. And I'm just really thankful 18 years to be part of this community that is just so kind and so generous, so warm, encouraging, and I love it. I'm really thankful that we get to do this. So, yes, thanks so much for being here, everybody. Yeah, it feels like we just started. Yes. Yeah, it feels like we just started. So, in any case, we have a lot of things that I want to share with you guys today. We have lots of things going on the yarn side. We have things going on the school side as well. We have actually the big thing that's coming up in 2 weeks, which is Knit City, and a lot of stuff is happening for that. But before we get on to that, I'm going to share with you some of the things that we're doing here. So, whoa, there's my chat. I'm going to move that off to the side so I can read what's going on here and see this. This is the problem when your screen is so small. Okay. So, the very first thing that I wanted to share with you guys is what is inside this box. This is season 5 of the Stitch Diaries. So maybe first what I will do is I'm going to share with you, I'm going to open up the box here. So this is the Stitch Diaries that we've been doing for a number of seasons now. This is season number 5. And so these are basically boxes where Tabitha has gone and created a number of stitch patterns and explored various stitch patterns. She's done lace, she's done cables, we've done, very simple knit stitches, all of this kind of stuff, knit and purl for texture. This particular box this season is about slip stitches. And slip stitches is basically very easy knitting technique, although it makes it look like things are very complicated. So when you're knitting, usually you work every stitch. With a slip stitch, you just slip it and you don't even work it, and you carry the yarn either behind or in front of that stitch that was not knit. And so you can get a number of different kinds of textures and techniques. And yeah, a lot of textures that can happen because you're not knitting every single stitch. And so those stitches that are slipped might become more elongated, they might puff out a little bit. They might do a whole bunch of things. And so that's what this box is all about. It's exploring that idea of slip stitches. So I'm going to open up the box and share with you kind of what is inside. This is what the boxes are all packaged like every time, but we have basically a booklet that Tabitha has created, and then it's combined with a yarn that has been designed, curated, colors curated by somebody on our team that we are working with and collaborating with to create this project. And in the past, we've worked with some of our dyers, and they've dyed custom colorways. Like Hoy created one that was colored like his cat coffee, and so it was a cat colored yarn. We've done other ones in the past, like with Teresa. She made one last season as well on a lace weight yarn. And so this is very, very special. This is actually a party of 5, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about that as well. But this one was curated by Rachel Lee at our studio. So in the kit, you have the patterns with the stitch patterns, and then you get this party of 5 set that was curated by Rachel. And there's also a box of soak in here. There's like a mini soak box in here that has a bag in here that you can do your washing your knitwear stuff inside the bag. And then the travel size soak. I love soak. I have a bottle of soak in all of our bathrooms in case I need to do any sort of wet finishing for any projects. That bottle of soak is always there. In any case, that is inside the box. Let me tell you about the yarn. Okay, so I'm going to quickly show you guys what's in here. Well, yes. So in these stitch patterns, hopefully you can see them up close a little bit better. This is what a slip stitch looks like in different colors. So part of the exploration of this is that Tabitha's looking at what does it look like in the texture of the fabric that you create from a slip stitch when you're just using one color. And then if you decide to just all of a sudden change colors, how can that completely transform what you're doing with the slip stitch technique? And so you can see, using one color looks like this. But then using multiple colors will immediately look like this. So it's looking at how that all comes together. And then there's 5 different stitch patterns that you can sort of experiment with. And then as always, she's picked one of the stitch patterns and created a pattern out of that. So in this case, the pattern is for a cowl called Autumn Oaks. And the full pattern is in here. You can see photos for it and everything like that. And then she's also included some notes pages. So in case you want to make your own swatch notes, in case you want to jot down your own design ideas, all of that is here in this book as well. So we have here, these are the 5 colors that are in the party of 5. And they're all very sort of woodsy, forest-like colors and things like that. So wanted to talk to you about how Rachel chose to do a party of 5, because you may or may not know that we currently make all of our mini skeins in the studio in Vancouver. So we dye all the yarn in Vancouver at our dye studio, and then the full skeins are then re-skeined and wound into mini skeins, and they're done almost entirely by Rachel. Rachel is the mini skein maker at the studio. And so because it's such a significant part of what she does all the time, she decided to choose a party of 5 or a mini skein set for this particular collaboration. So you can see the colors that she chose and everything like that. And there's a story inside the booklet that talks a lot about how Rachel is inspired by the place that we live. We're surrounded by this temperate rainforest. We are surrounded by forest and water, and just to be able to enjoy walking through the woods and these woodland spaces and things like that. And then to combine that with the idea of being able to sit by a cozy fireplace. And so this whole set is called Cabin Cove, and it's inspired by those. So you can see oranges, greens, browns, and things like that. Um, yeah, I love this color set. It's very lovely. Um, yeah, for sure. So yes, this is the box of Rachel's colors. And then this is the cowl that is designed from that slip stitch pattern. And so you can see there's a photo there of Rachel holding it up, and you can see some close-ups of it too. Hopefully you can see some close-ups here. That's the texture of what it looks like. Hopefully there's a focus on that. There we go. Yeah. So it looks super complicated. It looks super complicated. And I think that that is the whole point of what Tabitha is trying to get across with this particular set, is that it looks complicated, but it's actually super, super easy. And when you just start to experiment with these slip stitches, you know, using a box like this or using just even colors that you might have at home or something like that, experimenting with the slip stitch technique, and you'll be able to do a ton of new things. Like there's a lot of things to play with in this particular instance. So in any case, this Stitch Diary set, season 5, is available right now. We have it, it's on the front page of our website if you go there. The custom Party of 5 by Rachel. This is the Autumn Oaks cowl recipe from Tabitha, and that is available for you guys right now. So that is that part of it. Fantastic. Yes. I'm just catching up on your chat right now. Someone is asking, is there a video of our dye studio? There is, in fact, a video of us walking through the dye studio, and I show a studio tour that I did, I think maybe last January, maybe when we first started getting going in the studio. And we filmed quite a number of dye classes for the School of SweetGeorgia inside our dye studio. So Charlotte's taught dyeing large quantities of yarn, so like big batches, sweater quantities worth of yarn. And we've done that in the studio. And then we've also taught some natural dyeing classes or natural dye study groups there. And she also taught a class about dyeing spinning fiber, and we filmed that entirely in our dye studio space as well. So if you're a member of the school, you will see glimpses of the studio for sure in all of our courses and everything. Diana's asking, I have a pair of socks that use slip stitch. I love them. The structure of the slip stitches acted like compression socks. That's very cool. That would be interesting to see. Like, how does a slip stitch change the fabric in a way that it can make it more or less elastic? Does it add drape? There's definitely like a lot of things to experiment with. And I know like we're seeing slip stitches worked with very springy knitting yarn, but what would it be like in a yarn that has very little stretch? Uh, Very interesting. I wonder if it would be more drapey. Actually, that's a good, interesting thing to try as well. And yeah, there's a comment here about slip stitch with highly variegated yarn. Could be another really interesting way to sort of mix and blend a lot of hand painted yarn or very contrasting variegated yarn. Sometimes it feels like it's very difficult to work with a lot of variegated yarn because it might pool, it might cause streaks of color as you knit it. But if you use the slip stitch technique where you're basically breaking up all of those instances of color, you could start to sort of spread out that color a little bit more, mix and blend it, creating a lot more optical mixing and blending effects as well. Lots and lots of things to explore with that whole idea. Absolutely. So cool. So the next thing that I wanted to mention is something that I showed last month or the previous month before. Where is my chat? I'll move that out of the way. Yes. And that is these shawls. This is the Reimagined tomb shawl. And I wanted to bring this up again just because I didn't get a chance to show the photos for it last time, but the photos are so nice. And I think that it really, really emphasizes a lot of the things that we often talk about, which is the idea that color changes everything. And I don't know if you can tell, but these three shawls, the main three photos, they are exactly the same pattern, but they are just knit in totally different colors. And in one of these cases, it's actually two strands of tough love sock held together to make a thicker weight for knitting. So there's a lot of sort of marling and mixing and blending of colors in that first top photo. And in the bottom photo, you can see very vibrant, very high contrast. Those are colors from our Element collection. So it's very clear, bright, saturated colors. And then on the right hand side, that tall, narrow, skinny photo, that is some of the darker colors mixed with the lighter colors. And so you can see how just changing the colors of something can make something completely different. And so this pattern, I feel like, is a really, really great canvas to experiment with again, play with, try different things. I really would love to see somebody use it for hand spun. Like use your fractal spun hand spun yarn, or maybe you've dyed and spun a gradient yarn, and to knit that up together with a neutral or something like that in this shawl pattern would be really, really, really cool. So this pattern is called Tume or Tume. Tume, and you can definitely get it on our Sweet Georgia site. But if you happen to be a member of the School of Sweet Georgia, I wanted to let you know and just remind you in case you missed it in the live office hours, is that we are starting to include some of these patterns in the School of Sweet Georgia library so that they are available and free to download for anybody who is a school member. So we're constantly trying to find ways to add more value to the membership for you, because it is a place where you could definitely explore and grow and do more learning with all of the things that you have. So if you have yarn in your stash, pull that out and you can use a pattern like this to experiment and try lots of different things. So that is one thing that I wanted to first share with you guys. The next thing is that we created a bunch of new shawl kits. And so I really am loving this idea because you can see that tall, skinny photo here on the right hand side here. This is one of my favorite shawls ever. This one was designed by Tabitha, and it's called Cedarburg. This was a mystery knit along shawl that we did. And I loved mine. I mean, I think I made mine out of there was a birch color, there was a sparkly color in there, there was a purple color in mine, but just again reimagining them with different colors, different textures, and in this case, this has been reimagined in that Cedarburg shawl. It has been done in the new elixir colors, and so there's some of that honey gold is in there, which is really, really lovely. That yellow color, that gold yellow, that's in there. And so what we did is basically we took a lot of these shawls and we reimagined them in the new colors and created kits out of them. So you can go and take a look. I put a link on that little page there, with the link to where all of the shawl kits have been created. And that would just hopefully make it really, really easy for you to sort of pick and combine colors. We've done that work for you so that you don't have to think about, oh, which colors go together and everything like that. We've done that part of the work for you. And so that is ready to go. But yeah, again, I would love to see somebody's Cedarburg shawl in hand spun as well. That could be really, really super cool. Yeah. What else do we have to talk about today? The next thing I wanted to mention is that, yes, so let me just highlight a little bit about the Knit City stuff that's going to be happening. And so Knit City is an event that happens in September, near the end of September, and it's in Vancouver. There's one in Montreal now. I believe they're doing one in Toronto, and next year there's going to be one in Calgary as well. So Knit City is sort of expanding across Canada and having these fiber events, and these fiber events we have been sponsoring and supporting since the very beginning. I think this one might be like the ninth year, eighth year. I've lost track, but it's a lot. In any case, September 20 24, I think that's the weekend, 23, 24 in Vancouver. And we are going to be having our booth there, of course. And then we will be also hosting the lounge. So the Knitters Lounge, or the Sweet Georgia, sort of this lounge that we host every year, is a space where you can come, hang out, bring your knitting, sit and meet with different people. You can just kind of like relax. It's a space within the entire festival where you can kind of sit and relax and just, take a break. But it's also a place where we share a lot of demos and we do a lot of sort of providing exposure to more of the fiber arts where people may or may not ever have access to some of these things. So in many cases, like you can see there, I brought my baby wolf loom one year and I was weaving and doing demonstrations on there. I wove a color gamp on there. You could see our lounge from a couple of years ago too. We have like bring seating and all of that kind of stuff. And so this year, what we're going to do is Saturday morning, we're going to have some events. These are to be confirmed, time to be confirmed, all these kinds of things, but they're going to be focused around knitting and things. Saturday afternoon, we are going to do starting from around 2:45, 3 o'clock around there. We're going to do a lot of sort of meet and greet with the spinning instructors from the school. So you'll meet Rachel Smith from Welford Pearls, Kim McKenna, Diana Twist, and then they're going to be also doing some fiber prep demonstrations with blending boards, hand carders, those kinds of things. And you can sit around and spin if you brought a spindle, if you have a supported spindle. Many, actually, I believe all of these spinning instructors all also spin on supported spindles, and so you can also talk to them about spindling, supported spindling, all of that kind of stuff. And then on the Sunday, we're going to do more sort of like a weaving angle. And so in the morning, Jana from Everly Textiles is going to come and do a tapestry weaving party. And so you can bring your tapestry loom if you have one. These are just little portable looms. Hang out with her, chat with her, or come and watch her weave tapestry as well. So just a hang out with your tapestry kind of thing. And Jana has taught all of our tapestry classes on the school since the very, very beginning. Now, I am going to do a little bit of a demo on the Sunday afternoon as well about 4-shaft looms, 4-shaft table looms specifically. I'm not going to bring the baby wolf loom, it's quite big, but what I'm going to do is I'm right now in the midst of finishing the wood of that new Ashford Brooklyn table loom. And so I'm finishing all of that. I'm going to build that loom and warp it and get it set up before Knit City so that I can demonstrate how this 4-shaft loom works, the Ashford one. And if I get a minute, I'm going to hopefully also warp up the shaft Cricket Quartet, which is a loom that I converted maybe a couple of months ago. But basically, it's a rigid heddle loom. It was a Cricket loom. It's actually Greta's Cricket loom. And there's this addition or this extension that Shact has created where you can convert your rigid heddle loom into a 4-shaft loom. And so hopefully I'll have these two little options available for you to take a look at and experiment with, because I feel like these two options could be the way that many people enter into this world of weaving and weaving with knitting yarn, weaving with handspun yarn, weaving whatever. So just the introduction into 4-shaft weaving could come from these two looms. So I'm very, very excited to talk a little bit more about that. And of course, we're definitely going to bring a ton of yarn to the show. And so hopefully if you guys are there that weekend, please do come and say hello. Again, like around 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, we want to do this meetup for school members. And so we really, really welcome you to come and say hello for all of that. Say, what else is going on? What else is going on? This is the other stuff that's going on. So basically, September every year, we try to do a little bit of a spinning spin along. Last year, I believe we did a bit of a spin along that was focused on working from fleece, because again, Kim McKenna at the school had sort of taught us how to wash raw fleece and how to prepare it for spinning. And so there was a bit of a group working through that sort of concept as well. We've done spinning study groups in the past, you know, focusing on different techniques and things like that. In this case, this year, I know that there's a group of spinners and weavers on the Discord, on our Discord community, who are very, very eager to spin for weaving. So they're spinning with the intention of using that handspun yarn in their weaving projects as the months go on. For me, because I'm still sort of very addicted to my circular sock knitting machine, I have been focused on the idea of spinning yarn to be used in knitting socks. So that's a lot of my intention around what I'm spinning this September. And so it's going to show you that I have these braids that I'm very, very excited about. This one is Cordale in the Trail Runner colorway. I'm very, very excited about that one. And this is Targi in the Beachside Brunch colorway. And so for some of these, I am going to do some combo plying. So I'm spinning individual singles of these yarns, and then I'm going to ply them in different combinations so that I can crank them onto a circular sock knitting machine and see. A lot of this is not necessarily to make finished socks. A lot of this is really experimentation, seeing what kind of fabric can I make? And then if I can spin this yarn again, then what can I make from that? So a lot of this is experimentation. What happens if I do this and then I do this? What do I get at the end? And doing a bunch of sampling, doing a bunch of testing, and then at the end of the day deciding, oh, this is the one that I actually want to go back and spin, and then I'll make actual things out of. But for me personally, sometimes I don't even focus too much on the finished object. For me, like the interest is what happens if I do this? What happens if I mix these things together? So that's what these ones are about. This is a combo plying technique that I want to explore. And then I have another braid here of the Targhee in this beachside brunch colorway, which is right now my favorite colorway. This one, the Targhee, I want to break up and then spin in a couple of different techniques. So doing things like making a crepe yarn, opposing plies, just doing a bunch of different things with the structure of the yarn to see if I can make a stronger yarn, a firmer yarn, a yarn that would be better suited for knitting socks. And then in October, we do have, no, yeah, October is October. October is October, and that is when we have a new course coming out with Tabitha about knitting socks 2 at a time. So I think that just before getting the circular sock knitting machine, I was knitting a pair of socks 2 at a time, and I was getting a lot of comments from people. How do you knit socks 2 at a time on magic loop on a big long circular? How do you do that? How do you get started? Is it faster? Do you prevent your second sock syndrome? All of that kind of stuff. And so we decided to put together a class for this. And so that is coming out on October the 5th on the School of SweetGeorgia. So knitting 2 at a time socks. We're going to have new socks sets coming out. And Socktober is obviously going to be a knit along about socks as well. So very, very excited to do all that. And Greta's saying we are filming soon with lots of content playing with that beachside braid colorway. I love this color. I love it. So very, very excited about all of that. So you can see in the little slides here, we have 2 socks on a pair of circular knitting needles. There's Tabitha's hands there knitting those socks as we were filming. Obviously these 2 socks are different colors so that for teaching purposes, you can see which one is which. But when you are knitting your socks, you can make them whichever color you like. Yes. And all of this conversation, all of these things are going to be happening on our Discord channel. So if you have not yet joined our Discord, I encourage you guys to go and find out about how to join the Discord channel for SweetGeorgia. There's actually a lot of conversation on there. It's very much designed for what we call multi-craftual makers. Somebody who's interested in knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, dyeing, tapestry, punch needle, like whatever it is that you're interested in. Hopefully we've created a little channel for that, and then you can have conversation in there. Obviously not everybody does all of the things, but many people do more than one thing. So it is nice to be able to say, like, if you wanted to join just the knitting and crochet channels, or just the knitting and spinning channels, or just the knitting and weaving channels, whatever it is, you don't have to look at everything. You don't have to look at every conversation, just the ones that you're interested in. And we do have one also for machine knitting. We have one for CSM knitting. A lot of all that kind of stuff is going on. Now, I have a couple of other things that I wanted to mention today, and so I'm going to do this before I forget. We have the thing that I was talking about in the Discord channel, which is that it was very, very active over the month of August because our mystery knit along was being hosted in Discord. And so that was extremely active, lots and lots of conversation with all the people who are knitting for that mystery knit along. So I wanted to mention that the mystery knit along, the pattern for that and the final shawl is going to be unveiled next Tuesday on September the 12th. And so then the full pattern will go up. So if you wanted to see what it looked like before you joined and participated or knit this shawl, then you'll be able to see that all coming out on Tuesday. So absolutely, Joyce is saying, I'm still working on my mystery knit along from August. Totally, there's never a deadline for these things. This is definitely always we say it's work at your own pace. You're never behind, just do what you like, all of that kind of stuff. But to let you know that the full pattern is coming September the 12th. And we do still have yarn kits available if if you've seen what they look like in the end and then you still want to knit them, we have those color kits that are available as well. What else do we have to mention? So the other thing that I had to mention is that, yeah, I've been talking a little bit about the school. We do a lot of things. Everything is all intertwined with learning. I think that you can see that after 18 years, I mean, I started in this business because I was interested in learning about dyeing. As I learned about spinning, I wanted to dye fiber so that I could spin colored fiber. And so all of this started because I learned how to spin, and then because I learned how to spin, then I learned how to dye, and then because I learned how to dye all this yarn, then I had to use the yarn. And so weaving is the best way to use copious amounts of yarn very quickly. And so then I fell into the rabbit hole of weaving. And so all of these things have just kind of spawned from the process and the journey of learning and learning and learning. And I have been really, really excited to see, I guess, my kids learning things as well. I just watched them learn. This past summer, I watched my daughter learn how to knit. I watched her learn how to cast off, and I have a video of her just casting off, and it was amazing. It's amazing to watch kids knit and to work with yarn and to learn to crochet and to learn to needle felt. All of this entire process was really just really heartwarming to see them learn and to wonder where it might take them, all of this learning journey. I started my knitting journey when I was probably in grade 4, but I didn't start to spin until I was like 20 something. And where can this take you? What can it inform in the rest of your life? Like, I made a video about that Centro knitting machine, the circular knitting machine where you just, you crank this thing and then it makes a hat. And just for kids to know where all this stuff comes from. So I've been thinking a lot about like how to encourage more people to pick up these crafts at a younger age, where when I learned, or when maybe many of you guys learned as well. Like, when did you learn to knit? When did you learn to crochet? Who did you learn from? How was that experience? How was that process? And how are we going to do that? So this is one of the things that I have been thinking about a lot in the back of my mind, is how can we encourage more young people to experience these crafts? How do we provide accessibility to materials and supplies, and not necessarily, um, yeah, just how do we provide better materials, better tools, things that aren't going to fall apart or become waste? So this is a process that I'm thinking about. So one of the things that I've been thinking about putting together is almost like kits for kids so that they can learn some of these techniques. So like how to knit, learning how to knit from a kit that we can create that is more child centric or more young person centric. How to crochet, how to needle felt, how to wet felt, all of these kinds of things. And how can we make them also relevant to the other things that kids are learning about these days in life? So, we want to also be able to teach sort of the context of where did the technique come from? Where does the material come from? Where did the tools come from? What is a little bit of the background or history of the tool? How are they still being used in the world these days? Like, there's a lot of learning to do, and I'm always inspired by the learning aspect of these crafts. Um, yeah, that's a little bit of where I'm leaning these days. It's just really interested in the learning process, interested in background of these crafts and different techniques, trying to help people get exposure to a lot more things, and accessibility for sure. So this is one of the ideas that I have. If you guys are interested in something like this, I'm sort of starting along with this idea of these kits for kids that are also related in the background to science and technology, to culture, to context, to history, just to create something that is a little bit more educational. Um, yeah, and that's kind of like a project that I'm working on the side right now. And hopefully I will have more to explore about that in the future. But if you guys have any comments or anything, thoughts about this, I would love for you guys to continue this conversation with me in Discord and chat with you a little bit about some of these ideas that I've been having. And if you are parents of kids who are probably around the age of like 8 and up, 8 to 16 or 8 to 18 or something like that. If you have kids around that age, I would love for you to sort of reach out to me and I can connect with you directly, and I would love to have a conversation about what that would be like, what it would look like to create something that would help them learn some of these fiber arts techniques. How can we make this good and how can we make this different from other things that exist already? So in any case, that is one side of the learning thing, is just trying to expose and share more learning with younger people. The other thing is that obviously we are full on building out this school for SweetGeorgia. We've been doing it now for 6 years now, which also seems crazy. I just don't know where the time has gone. I honestly don't know where the time has gone, but we've been building it for a number of years now, and this is the very first year that we are looking at doing this price increase. And so we are increasing the subscription prices for the School of SweetGeorgia, and all of the increases are going to happen on October 1st. So if you are already a member of the school, you will keep your current subscription rate for as long as you are subscribed. So you don't have to do anything. You just have to stay subscribed and nothing will change for you. But for anybody who's signing up new, the prices will go up on October 1st and after. So if you want to get the prices as they are right now before they increase, then I encourage you guys to come and join us inside the school before September 30th, because after that all the prices will go up, as everything else in the world has been also going up. And so, I mean, this is definitely, this is the first time in 6 years that we've considered this kind of change. But yeah, it is something that we're hoping to show you guys that there's a lot of things happening inside the school, and there's a lot of value in being a part of a learning community where it can help support and guide you with all of the things that you want to learn. And so we're constantly adding more courses. We're taking feedback and suggestions on what to add to the school. And yeah, we have a lot of good things coming in the coming months as well. Now, to just check, yeah, I appreciate you guys with all these notes about the school. Fantastic. Wonderful. Amazing. So that is basically it for today. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I am going to be very excited to see many of you guys at Knit City. If you do come, if you are in Vancouver that weekend, please do come and say hello. I know that many of our team would also be really, really interested in saying hi as well. But thank you guys so much for being here today. And I will hopefully see you in the next live stream that we do next October. It's the second Friday of every month, and I will see you guys back here. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. All right, bye for now.